When you take a closer look at my face here, you'll notice that there's absolutely no difference between this side and this side. But I used two different techniques. In this video, I'm gonna be breaking down the differences between baking and not baking and their effects on achieving a flawless under eye. But not everybody should be using the same techniques, so I'll give you tips on which one you should be using for your skin type. When I was learning how to apply makeup, one of the things that I really struggled with was setting my under eyes properly in order to avoid cakiness or creasing. But ever since I learned the difference between baking and not baking and which one I should be using for my skin, my under eyes turned out flawless all the time. So when it comes to baking, the first step is to apply concealer. I only use enough concealer just to cover up discoloration under my eyes and to brighten it up. Once you've applied the concealer, you want to blend it out, and I prefer using a damp beauty sponge because it has a little bit of moisture that's going to give you a flawless blend. This helps to make the concealer look smooth and natural on your skin before you set it. If more coverage is needed, you want to go in with a lighter concealer, and I like to place that in the inner corner to help brighten up your skin. Now it's time for the baking technique. For this, I like to use a powder puff. If you check the description box down below, I'll leave a link for you to purchase these on Amazon, and they're actually really cheap. Once you have your powder puff, you want to dip it directly into a setting powder. This specific setting powder is what you want to use to bake in order to set your concealer so that it doesn't move throughout the day. Once you have your powder on the puff, you want to go over the back of your hand and smoothen out that powder like this to make sure that you're not getting clumps under your eyes. This is going to help distribute the powder all over to give you a smooth and flawless under eye. So with the powder loaded on the puff, you want to press it gently underneath your eyes where you applied your concealer. The powder is going to help set that concealer so that it can stay put all day. So now here's the interesting part. You want to leave this powder right here for a few minutes in order for it to settle with your skin and the concealer. This is where the baking happens. During this time, the powder is really marinating with the concealer to set it in place to give you a flawless matte under eye that will last all day long. Then after a few minutes, you want to use a brush to dust away all the powder from your under eyes, and now your concealer should be perfectly set. The baking technique can give you more of a matte finish and help your makeup last throughout the day. When it comes to the baking technique, you want to use a setting powder that is perfect for that, and one that I love is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking Setting Powder. This setting powder is specifically for baking because it's less of a finer powder. It gives you a little bit more coverage, and it also gives you a really nice flawless matte under eye. When it comes to not baking, you want to make sure that you're perfecting your concealer routine. This means effectively covering up any dark circles, blemishes, or imperfections. Then go in with a little bit of the brightening concealer to brighten up your under eyes if you feel like your skin needs it. Then you want to go in with the damp beauty sponge and blend that as well, making sure that everything is completely blended out, even the creasing under your eyes. Next, to set the concealer without baking, it's important to use a good setting powder, but the question is, how can we do this without making it look cakey or clumpy under our eyes? So this is where the non-baking technique comes in. You want to opt for a fluffy brush such as this one. Then you want to gently tap the brush on the powder and lightly dust off any excess. This is going to make sure that you're not getting any clumps or cakiness under your eyes, giving you a really nice smooth blend. Dusting it off also makes sure that you're using the right amount of powder to set your concealer without going overboard. By avoiding excess powder, you can ensure that your under eyes won't look overloaded or heavy. This final step not only helps to blend the powder with the concealer, but it also gives you more of an airbrushed finish, and it's not going to leave your under eyes feeling dry because the powder is applied in a controlled and gentle manner. To make this method work perfectly for you, you want to consider your skin type when selecting the powder. There's so many different types of powders out there, but selecting one that goes well with your skin type can make a really huge difference in how your under eyes look and feel. If you have dry under eyes, then you definitely want to opt for a powder that provides hydration. One powder that I would highly recommend is the Saie Airset Radiant Loose Powder. This is not only formulated to perfectly set your under eyes, but it also has squalane, which provides provides a boost of hydration under your eyes, leaving your under eyes feeling very comfortable and not dry. If you have more wrinkles under your eyes or fine lines, or your concealer tends to crease a lot, I would recommend using a loose finishing powder such as the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. This is going to give you a smoother under eye, especially if you have texture and you're worried about the texture peeking through with the powder. Loose finishing powders and setting powders are almost very similar, but a finishing powder is perfect for skin that has more texture compared to a setting powder that works really well on smoother skin. But it's very important to note that the baking technique is only good for people who have oily or combination skin because it helps to mattify your skin for a long period of time. It also helps to prevent the oils from peeking through your skin because concealer can sometimes contain a lot of oil, which can make your makeup really oily. If you have dry skin, avoid the baking technique. Instead, use the not baking technique because this is not going to dry your under eyes. It's also going to make your under eyes feel very comfortable and wearable throughout the day. But in order to really achieve a flawless under eye, it's really important to understand the difference between a setting powder and a finishing powder. If you don't understand the difference, then you have to watch this video because I break down the differences between the two of them and which one is perfect for you.
KLJ, welcome to a channel where it's poppin'.